Is Scorpio going to be better than the PS4 Pro?
Well, almost certainly yes.
Is there anything that the PS4 Pro still does better, or could still do better than the Scorpio?
Well, kind of no.
So the much anticipated Scorpio reveal has arrived, and according to Digital Foundry, not only has Microsoft managed to deliver what they promised they were, they have managed to over-deliver. So what I plan on doing with this video is kind of going over the main bullet points for you to summarize what I think you need to know, because there was a ton of content posted up by Digital Foundry. They had like 4 or 5 different articles, they had 3 or so different videos, so there was a lot here to unpack. So the first thing that should be mentioned is that we still aren't at the final numbers just yet. There's still room for improvement. Digital Foundry mentions this. Also, Windows Central is reporting that Project Scorpio kits are currently running below 80% of their planned performance. So if it's already running below 80%, and we're already talking about the numbers that we are today with 6 months still left to go, that sounds pretty good, I think. They say that Microsoft is expected to have it up and running at or near 100% by the time June rolls around. But even so, again, the numbers are impressive. You can see here the chart comparing the main components. They say whenever you put it all together, Digital Foundry reports that Scorpio will have at least 43% compute advantage over the PS4 Pro. And while the CPU isn't a Ryzen, as I told you not to expect it to be, there are a number of customizations made that don't really tell the full story by just looking at the numbers. For instance, DirectX 12 baked directly onto the hardware itself, and they say that this makes a big difference. Digital Foundry says draw cell instructions on a CPU can put a lot of load on a CPU. It can be thousands of different instructions that have to go to work, and they've been able to reduce that to 11 based on this being on the hardware itself. That's not 11,000, that is just the number 11. And they say those aren't the only CPU-intensive jobs that are cut down. Microsoft says that games that run on DX12 should see CPU workload cut down by 50% in some cases, which would be huge. Of course, a lot of newer games are moving towards DX12. You got Battlefield 1, Battlefront, of course, Microsoft games as well. But it's also going to help out with the audio processing they revealed. They also announced that Dolby Atmos is going to be on Scorpio, as well as being supported by all Xbox hardware here shortly. So there is a lot of customizations made on the hardware. They said that they looked at Xbox One games. They identified 60 different bottlenecks where current hardware was bottlenecking the games. And so they said they went in and they fixed every single one of those. So again, they made a lot of changes to the hardware. There's also expected to be a large decrease in loading times, which I'm especially happy for. They said that's thanks to CPU, the extra overhead, as well as faster memory. Also, in what appears to be very good news for developers, they said that engines and games will be able to be easily transferred over to the new console. Turn 10 took the Forza engine and had it running in 2 days at 4K 60 frames per second unoptimized. But not only that, they were using 4K textures and was still basically only using 2/3 of the GPU power. So they had all this going on screen. They had it set up where this was a tech test, so they had like 20-something cars on screen at the same time. They were trying to push it, and they said the GPU was only running at 66% of its capability. So there was a ton of overhead, and then they went and they did another test where they turned up the settings to the equivalent of running the same game on PC with ultra settings with 4K assets. Again, 20 plus cars on the screen at one time to really push the limit, and they were still at only 88% of the GPU power. And again, going back to what I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the hardware is still running 80% less of what it's projected to be running in the final stages. So I think, again, that's pretty good news. And they also emphasized, again, this was pre-optimization. They hadn't even gone in to try to configure the game for the system just yet. So again, this means developers shouldn't have too much work to do in order to get their game or their engine running on the system. It also means a lot of current Xbox One games are going to be running at 4K resolution. Foundry covers this topic quite a bit, talking about how it's going to help out current games and older games. They said that they expect a lot of games that currently run at 900p, for instance, will be patched to run at native 4K on the Scorpio. And even games that aren't patched, they said, are going to be getting a lot of benefits, including texture filtering. So the picture is just going to look clear and a much better details on the screen whenever you're playing current 360 games or Xbox One games on the Scorpio, which is something that the PS4 Pro doesn't do on a lot of games, even whenever you have boost mode turned on. And Digital Foundry has been talking about, you know, the fact that this is a sore area for PS4 Pro, and they wish that they would have taken the same approach that Microsoft is currently working on. It also is featuring a state-of-the-art cooling system, which is also custom. They said it looked like a supercharger on a car, so hopefully no red rings of death. And they say that it's similar to top-of-the-line GPUs out on the market today, like the brand new GTX 1080 Ti. But even if you don't care anything about 4K, you don't have a 4K TV, Scorpio will feature a system-wide downsampling for owners with lower resolutions, so that those images are going to look a lot better than if you were just playing them on a regular screen, which again is something that the PS4 Pro doesn't do a lot, even for their own first-party games. And they say that there's other tools and features that were shown off that give the system an advantage. Digital Foundry says that this could give the GTX 1070 and the Fury X class a run for its money, and that if you tried to build this PC from parts off the shelf, that this is probably going to run you somewhere in the neighborhood over $1,000, which of course a console is not going to cost you $1,000. So they say that Microsoft is going back to the days where they tried to give you a piece of hardware for a lower price point that performs as well as a solid PC and saves you money. We still don't have a price point just yet, but I believe we are getting close. If you look down in the description box, I'll have a link to Amazon where they've posted up their first Project Scorpio page, so you can get details on pre-ordering that, or maybe you'll get lucky and the pre-order page will already be there so you can see what the price is. But I believe the safe bet is that it's going to be priced higher than the PS4 Pro, which shouldn't be surprising because it is more powerful than the Pro in pretty much every way, but it's also got to be reasonable. And the fact that it doesn't have Ryzen in it, I think is going to keep it in that ballpark. If I had to guess, and this is just pure speculation on my part, I would put it around $500 based on what we've heard about it and based on, you know, just looking at the market. That's also what the Xbox One launched at. And so Microsoft knows that they can sell consoles for that price point and they'll sell. And if it does hit around that price point, then the cost for performance is pretty good compared to the PC. One thing is for sure, though, it's going to be a fun E3. Those were just the specs out today. That was tech analysis. Phil Spencer states that E3 is going to be about the games. So interested to see these new games running on the hardware. And again, I think it's pretty positive that Digital Foundry said not only did Microsoft deliver, but they over-delivered. They were able to hit speeds in some areas that they didn't even think was going to be possible, and we're still 6 months out from release. So as I mentioned, there were a lot of articles, a lot of videos posted today. I've got them all over at videogamesandnews.com for you to easily read. You can check that out, links down below, as well as that link to the Project Scorpio pre-order page on Amazon. Post your thoughts below on what we learned today about Scorpio. Are you interested in picking one up? Also want to send a special thank you to Mazer Gaming, who is a subscriber who pointed something out to me on Twitter that I almost overlooked before I made this video, so thanks to him. That does it for me, The Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.